According to a legend passed down in the world of martial arts, the spirit of a master, having understood the truth of the world, was about to reach the apex. It is said that he searches for someone to inherit the great task he left unfinished and guide him to the top. Then, someone claims that they thought it a meaningless story until now. At the same moment, some people look apprehensively towards a target, because suddenly, the person who doubted the legend starts to believe it. Soon after, Beck Jun appears, the next head of the Fire Dragon sect. Suddenly, one of the men screams as he receives an attack. Soon he falls to the ground, lifeless. Then, Dan Mayong, the 12th generation master of the Phantom Sword, trembles with fear. Master Dan Mayong, who is covered in blood, declares that for killing innocent warriors and bringing chaos to the land, today he will end all of this. Next, Beck Jun, with a sadistic smile on his face, runs towards the warriors to make more and more victims. Therefore, the spirit of that ancient legend chose him. He proclaims himself the apex of this world. Then many years pass, and an old man sitting on a throne states that this was what should have happened. And then he wonders why they stopped guiding him. Suddenly a man shouts, "Master!" upon seeing the old man. And well, this old man is Beck Jun, the head of the Fire Dragon sect and leader of the Blood Demon sect, but this time he is elderly, in his last days. Anyway, one of his followers celebrates the success of something, and then he asks him to look, and states that this is the first survivor of the immortal body experiment. Soon, the poor experiment says that Beck Jun was the one who ruined him and his family, and he will never forgive him. Then Beck Jun's follower tells him to be silent, while squeezing the experiment by the collar. He asks who gave him the right to speak, being just a stranger. He continues saying that he can communicate unlike the others. Moreover, he survives without water and food for weeks. Next, the old man tells him to stop, because even though he had strived for years, all he managed to create was a monster. With that, he says, people like them will never reach the true apex. Beck Jun's follower, desperate, asks for a little more time for the experiment to work. Beck Jun, coughing, says that he himself will make sure that the immortal body is completed. Suddenly, the lackey feels something happening to his arm and removes the lid of the potion in his hand involuntarily. Looking up, he realizes he's swallowing the purple liquid. Then, the vial falls, breaking, and suddenly the follower begins to transform into a creature. Soon, he begs the old man to have mercy on him. At the same time, the experiment begins to crawl, observing the purple liquid that transformed him into that monster. Seeing the situation, the old man coughs blood into his hand and wonders why he stopped answering him. Finally, he states that he knows he's still there, inside him, and looking at the sky, he cries out, "Reveal the secret of immortality, the immortal body technique." "What a fool you are, Beck Jun," he states, disappointed with himself. Next, he states that the immortal body is complete, and at the same moment, the experiment attacks him from behind. Beck Jun, with a red energy, defends himself from the experiment's attack using telekinesis. Then, the experiment asks why the old man chose that as a vessel instead of him, and promises that he will curse everyone in hell. Meanwhile, the old master wonders how he dares betray him after everything he accomplished in his place. In response, an unknown voice scoffs, saying that the great task was accomplished, but even so, he cannot see the truth of the world, and calls him pathetic. Then the voice states that it will show him the truth of the world. Next, the old man's pupil shines, citing a celestial figure. This powerful being emerges, breaking space with a large amount of energy emanating from its body. And then, the old man screams as such energy pushes his body away. And finally, he wonders if the truth of the world and if his strength only amounts to this. Soon, the old man is brutally pierced by the hands of the experiment, making him depart from this world in an instant. Then, the old man, upon entering the experiment's body, asks him if he hates the world for having his family ruined, and says to let him take care of it. At the same moment, Beck Jun's henchmen observe something wrong happening inside the place. While the experiment absorbs an immense amount of energy, the warriors, desperate, call for their master. They then shout and order the monster to be destroyed. And in response, the experiment says that they must crush every fortress in this world and achieve their powers, and concludes saying that nothing and no one will be above him. Then he makes his first victims while stating that when the day comes, they must rise to the apex once more. Then the experiment, with its reddened eyes and a horrifying smile, advances, destroying everything in its path. Then some time passes, and a person says that he will return later. He then asks his father to be careful. He walks away. The moon shines, illuminating the night. He then continues walking towards a temple. The same man stops in front of the entrance to the place. He enters a large hall where other men await him. Then he says that it has been a while since they last saw each other. A man called Fist King Yuk-bi replies that it has indeed been a while. Next, Jin Seol-hee, the Empress of the North, wonders why they called that old man as well. And finally, Abbot Hyun of the Shaolin Temple becomes pensive. Then, Baek Muryong, the leader of the Fire Dragon sect, greets the Sword Emperor and states that he trusts that all is well with him. Next, the old man with the hat says that enough with the meaningless talk and asks if he knew that he was being followed by spies since he left the martial world. And then he asks them to hurry up and explain why they brought this old man. And then he says that he will skip the formalities and focus on the main issue, and continues saying that Wudang, Zhongnan, Huashan, and countless other important sects were annihilated by a single master. He continues saying that they know nothing about the motivations or identity of the same, but that those who faced him describe him as a demon obsessed with fighting and call him the insane demon. At the same moment, a person approaches. Baek Muryong then concludes that today they intend to end his madness right there. Soon, a strong explosion occurs, and after chasing this powerful energy, the so-called insane demon finds a familiar place and states that seeing the 5 leaders gathered there, it seems that everyone was waiting for this moment. Meanwhile, Beck Jun says that the title Mad Demon is no exaggeration, and concludes by saying that it seems he is facing the god of death. Then he draws his sword, and next states that him being alone there is reason enough for him to wield his sword once more. And then the mad demon just observes them. Then Baek Jun uses the first technique of his celestial sword, and with that, the old man advances at an absurd speed. Soon after, the mad demon smiles, and then, without wasting time, the old man unleashes more consecutive attacks. And upon finishing, he sheathes his sword again, leaving the demon's body in pieces on the ground. Then, the first king, Yuk-bi, says that's enough and that it's all too boring to end like this. Yuk-bi asks if he hadn't warned them that all that talk about a mad demon or anything else was nonsense. Meanwhile, Yuk-bi wonders what is happening with everyone there and why they are so serious. Suddenly, Mad Demon gets up saying that this is beyond his expectations. Everyone is shocked to see the madman get up, with his body reconstituting. Yuk-bi asks what that is. Next, the monster rises again, causing his body to repair itself. Yuk-bi, desperate and surprised, wonders if he's dreaming. One of the leaders states that it can't be, and asks if that is the legendary martial art that grants immortality. The insane demon smiles and then reveals his immortal body technique, and affirms that it really exists. Soon after, he says that it was a great blow. Next, the insane demon asks if they want to have some fun, while holding the scabbard of his sword with his right hand. Soon after, Yuk-bi asks the old man what he's doing and shouts for him to get away from the insane demon. The same smiles and tells them not to worry about the old man. And looking directly at his bloodied prey, he completes that he already had his fun with him, showing a newly made scar on his neck. Then the demon smiles and asks, "Who's next?" holding his sword firmly with his right hand. Suddenly, the woman tells the first king to calm down, and then she asks him if, as the head of the Fire Dragon sect, he doesn't know anything about this situation. In response, Baek Muryong just says he's not sure, but that he saw that martial art in ancient books. Meanwhile, the old man completely collapses and bids farewell to this world. Suddenly, Yuk-bi appears trembling and with his muscles contracting. The other old man is then surprised by his destructive energy. Then, Yuk-bi stomps on the ground, but before attacking, the first king asks him to wait. Next, he calls him an insolent brat and asks how he dares to do this. Full of hatred, Yukbi attacks him, stating that he will kill the demon. The mad demon scoffs, asking if he is really the Fist King. Yukbi then uses his explosive fist gale technique. The insane demon, smiling, states that he wouldn't expect anything less from him. Suddenly, the energy from Yukbi's punch explodes the structure around him. Next, a gigantic amount of energy from the blow is fired, surprising those present. Next, Yukbi states that that was the Fist King's martial art. Meanwhile, the energy from the Fist King's martial art disintegrates part of the arena. Surprised, Baek Muryong states that it's an incredible blow, but that there's no way someone could be defeated with that blow. Even after receiving a direct hit, the mad demon remains intact. Yukbi asks how that's possible, and states that the explosive blow from his fist hit him squarely. Surprised, he states that his enemy's strength is increasing more and more. The insane demon thanks the Fist King and admits that it was a magnificent martial art. Then, the insane demon states that he will receive his attack well. Yukbi feels that something is wrong. The demon then uses the explosive fist gale technique against its own creator. However, the blow doesn't hit him because Abbot Haiyan steps in front of the blow to protect him. The abbot, immediately afterwards, appears with all his muscles expanded and injured all over, including his left arm exploded. The mad demon then shouts that it's not his turn yet. Abbot then rebukes his opponent, telling him to stop acting so arrogantly. Next, the insane demon starts to smile and asks if the old man from the temple is all right, as he seems to be having more difficulties than the others. Meanwhile, Yukbi apologizes to him. Finally, the master tells him not to say such things, that if he hadn't interfered, he himself would have interfered with his own hands. Then, Abbot Haiyan says that they should deal with that monster before worrying about such trivial matters. The mad demon, pensive, wonders how a body managed to resist the Fist King's martial art, and then he wonders if that body is indestructible. Next, Jin Seolhee, the Empress of the North, tells him to stop playing around, and then she uses the Hanyong ice slicing sword technique. The mad demon is then completely frozen. He then asks if that is the martial art of the North Sea Ice Palace that he's only heard of. Next, she tells the monster to shut up. Soon after, he states that the coldness of the technique froze him to the bone. And then, Abbot Haiyan states that they are the 5 great masters of the world. He says that they live up to their names, and that they all possess martial arts that have reached the apex, and that he really likes that, while the idiot kid observes the old man's severed arm. Next, Baek Muryong states that he's glad he likes it, and then he says that he will let him witness the martial arts of the Fire Dragon sect leader, Baek Muryong. Next, he advances towards the insane demon with absurd speed. Then, the demon looks down and wonders if that's all he's got. And then, Baek Muryong states that he will be trapped in darkness forever. The mad demon, while tied up and frozen, wonders what nonsense he's talking about. But for the first time, he worries. Next, he is enveloped by reddish and dark bands. The mad demon, desperate, wonders what's happening. The mad demon asks what they did to him. Next, he states that his whole body is starting to lose strength. Jin Seolhee protects herself while observing that absurd technique before her eyes. And then, she gasps, trying to catch her breath. Meanwhile, the mad demon is completely tied up. Yukbi, frightened, asks what he did. Abbot Haiyan states that he's never seen such martial art in his entire life. Then Baek Muryong explains that that is the Eclipse Blade, a treasure passed down to the leaders of the Fire Dragon sect, and that those who are cut by this sword spend eternity in darkness, and says that, however, there are no records of it being used. Baek Muryong states that therefore they don't know how long this will last, and states that they must always be prepared. And then, a long time later, specifically 3,000 years later, the demon appears in a mirror. Next, a man in an astronaut suit is in a place full of machines. Yes, now we are in a futuristic city. This place is known as the Resistance, from 2,600 years ago, located on planet GSP Zone 3. Suddenly, a man named Mark from the Earth promotion team introduces himself. Then someone on a loudspeaker asks everyone to be careful, as some of the exhibits are fragile. A man asks if he is the only one from the advanced team, and Mark replies that there is one more person, and then he says that the person who is there is with him. Next, he wonders where she's going without saying anything. Then Lena, the leader of the Earth promotion team, walks away. She takes off her glasses and says that she finally arrived on that cursed planet. Mark, desperate, calls out to her, and then she asks if he's there to have fun and why he's so excited. He replies that until the main team arrives, they don't have much to do, and asks if this isn't just a vacation. And she replies that he's quite bold. Next, he says that he didn't expect her to volunteer to join the GSP team, and she asks what he means by that. Then he replies that if someone like her, who usually shivers just thinking about aliens, suddenly volunteers to go to a place where all the aliens in the universe gather, it's natural that he would be curious. Next, they arrive at a place where there are various species that can't even be found on Earth. Lena then tells her to stop playing around, as it's still dangerous. And then he says that things are different now, and adds that during the tournament, everyone is on equal footing. Lena, in turn, wonders if those guys think the same way, and then she observes how complacent they are. Next, Mark tells her to look at that while holding a balloon shaped like an alien eye. Then, Lena says that's enough of him and asks him to stay in the exhibition hall. Mark asks why, and Lena replies stating that he has a lot of courage and asks if he really wants to be near those scary aliens. He replies that comments like those can be dangerous even if they are on equal footing. And then, she replies that it's dangerous precisely because they are not on equal footing. Lena sighs and wonders what a newbie like him would know. And then he gets irritated and says that it's not about aliens, and that if he calls someone disgusting, anyone would get irritated. Then they arrive at the location, and Lena says that this is where they will truly rise to a position of equality with those guys. And then he asks if that is the location of the GSP tournament. Then a voice announces that everyone is welcome, people from all over the universe, and continues saying that this is the biggest cosmic festival held once every 100 years, a place of opportunity where the level of each civilization can be instantly elevated. Then he welcomes everyone to the GSP Fighting Tournament. Mark thinks to himself that the team leader came to watch the tournament, but disguised it by saying she came to visit. Lena, in turn, says that she came to find the enemy's weaknesses, and Mark wonders what nonsense she's talking about. Next, the tournament narrator announces the first match. The competitor participating in this fight is ranked 972nd in the civilization rankings. He is the representative of the Ifrit civilization, Agni, and facing him is the competitor ranked 963rd in the civilization rankings, representative of the Piglo civilization, Panon. And then the narrator asks who will be the winner of this fight, and announces that the preliminaries for Group 6 will begin now. Now, in the promotional hall of Planet GSP Zone 3 in District Z, a man in an astronaut suit asks the other to hurry up, and then the same man looks at the insane demon, who is still trapped in the bonds of the old man's ability from millennia ago. He is astonished, wondering what kind of thing that was. And then the other man asks what he's doing there and asks him to hurry up. Suddenly, the man wonders if he didn't hear the sound just now. The other replies that all he hears is his nonsense. And then the insane demon opens one of his eyes as his seal begins to crack. Yes, the beast, the machine, is starting to come out to cause more terror in the world, but this time in modern times. And then it is revealed that planet GSP is located 500,000 light years away from Earth, and that a combat tournament is held every 100 years, featuring various civilizations from across the universe. In this tournament, they say that the civilization that emerges victorious will achieve the truth of all things, and will be freed from all negative effects, such as disease, hunger, and war. And then it is shown that the proud government of Unified Earth, the UGE, has officially qualified to participate in this tournament, and the competitor representing the UGE is known to be the strongest on Earth. They believe that reaching the finals would be easy, and that securing the championship is not so unlikely. Meanwhile, the fight between Agni and Panon begins. The narrator says that they live up to the name of the living flame species, and that as soon as the restrictions were lifted, the entire arena was engulfed in intense flames. Panon, desperate, gasps and curses the living flame bastard. Agni, in turn, states that he will roast his opponent until he turns into a cookie. And then the spectators start shouting Agni's name, saying that they bet everything on him. Meanwhile, the narrator states that the audience's excitement is as intense as the competitor Agni, and that Agni's popularity is tremendous. Then Panon, representative of the Piglo civilization, rank 963, afraid and gasping, looks to the side, observing the entire audience against him. But Agni, representative of the Ifrit civilization, rank 972, wonders how he dares look away while facing him. Panon stares, astonished, as Agni prepares to attack him with a fire blast. And then Agni unleashes his breath, known to melt even the sturdiest ships. The narrator says that Agni is too much for a level 1 civilization, and then Agni cackles and asks if they saw the power of Lord Agni. Mark, surprised, wonders how they will fight against a monster like that, and asks Lena if they are really going to continue looking for his weaknesses. After all, he doesn't think it will be useful. Lena agrees, saying that it may not matter much. And then Mark says that they are just wasting time, but Lena interrupts him, saying that's not all. She states that she's also feeling terrible, but that she realized something important, and says that none of the aliens belonging to level 3 or higher are focused on that fight, and that since this tournament could completely change the fate of an entire civilization, she thought their reactions would be different. But it seems that a level 1 civilization like them is insignificant in their eyes. And then she says that they will use this arrogance as their weapon and retaliate. And finally, she asks Mark to continue looking for their weaknesses as planned. And Mark wonders why they, being the promotion team, would need to do that. Next, a child from the Piglo civilization cries desperately, asking Panon not to lose. The child, crying, tells him to hold on. Mark wonders if that isn't a child of the Piglo species. And then he says that unfortunately, their civilization had no luck with the matchups. After all, their opponent is among the top-ranked of the level 3 civilizations. And then the narrator says that the heat of the flames has subsided a bit, but Panon is nowhere to be found. An alien then says to just call the winner, and that the trash probably turned to ash and was carried away by the wind. Lena, surprised, says that there was someone dangerous nearby, and then she says that she needs to inform the team leader and get away from there. Suddenly, the child yells at the alien, asking her not to speak recklessly about Panon, since she knows nothing about him. The alien then replies, saying that he has no manners, stating that it was to be expected from an inferior species. The child, irritated, says that he is also small, and calls him a pipsqueak. Mark, desperate, asks Lena to leave quickly because if they stay, they might end up getting involved in their fight. And then the alien starts to bulk up, asking if he called him small. Enveloped in electricity, he asks the Piglo child if he wants to hear something interesting. And then the Piglo child looks at him in astonishment, and the alien says that he is considered normal on his planet, while his hand begins to glow with lightning around it. Mark, desperate, tells her to look, stating that this is really dangerous. And then the alien expands and says that even someone like him could turn the representative of their planet into a bloody mess in 10 seconds. And well, his name is Engineer Mr. Pixie, representative of the Pixie civilization, rank 1300. Lena stares at him and wonders if that's really impressive enough to brag about his strength to a child. Next, the brute asks what she said, and then she tells him to stop acting so arrogant because the way he speaks makes it obvious that he's a loser. The alien, surprised, wonders if those inferior civilizations took some kind of drug together and asks why they are irritating him so much. Mark, desperate, wonders if he's not included among those wretches. And then Lena, unconcerned and without love for her life, asks what he can do if he gets angry. Next, he approaches the child and asks him furiously if he said what he could do. And then Mark, desperate, tells her to get away from him and that he misunderstood everything because he was with her. And then Lena asks if he's going to abandon the team leader. Suddenly, the alien says that he will show them what he can do. And then, while yelling, he approaches at full speed while preparing a powerful, energized punch. But he is interrupted by a security drone that orders him to stop. The alien wonders why this is happening right now. And then Mark wonders what that is. And Lena replies that it's a security drone that patrols the arena. Lena then asks what that guy can do inside the stadium with so many things patrolling. The drone then asks if he caused them any harm. Lena, mockingly, says that he didn't hurt anyone directly, but that the idiot started flexing his muscles suddenly, maybe because he was drunk. And that because of that she suffered so much that she lost her appetite, but that it's okay. The drone, surprised, wonders if that's true, and if he was really showing off his robust physique to them. And then Lena tells him to try to do the same with the patrol officer. The alien, furious, calls her a bitch and asks how she dares do that to him. Mark, desperate, asks what he's doing and says that his eyes are about to pop out. And then Lena states that before that guy hurts someone, telling the truth will cause him to be released without any consequences. Lena then says that this is her way of punishing him. And then Mark, still desperate, asks her to let him go and stop provoking him. The drone, in turn, asks if he really wanted to show off those useless muscles. And well, the alien, with a sadistic smile, replies that yes. And then he shrinks in size and asks if that means he did nothing wrong. Suddenly, the alien runs off and says he'll see them again, calling them worms. Mark, sounding cold, tells him not to even appear in his dreams. And then he asks Lena if she expected that result, and she replies that yes. Next, she wonders if he thinks she's crazy enough to mess with a monster like that without thinking twice. Suddenly, the Piglo child tugs on Lena's clothes and thanks her for helping him. Lena, with a somber expression, asks who helped whom, and tells him to go away as he is distracting her from the game. The child, frightened, begins to cry. Mark thinks to himself that, as he imagined, she must have lost her patience suddenly. And then he pats the child's head and tells him to go back to his family now. The child, irritated, calls him a coward. And then she bows to Lena. Mark wonders why she is acting that way towards him. And then Lena tells him to shut up, calling him a coward. Suddenly, the crowd shouts, asking Panon to stop hiding and come out at once, and they wonder how he still calls himself the representative of his civilization. Meanwhile, the narrator says that intense criticism is being directed at competitor Panon. Lena, in turn, says that she already expected that, but that the difference between a level 1 civilization and a level 3 one is despairing. Then Agni cackles and says that it's been a long time since he played hide-and-seek. Lena, with a serious expression, wonders if there really is no way for Earthlings to defeat a monster like that. Meanwhile, she remembers all the injured and the absurd state they were in when they came out of a battle. Then, putting her hand to her mouth, she thinks that she can't have such weak thoughts anymore. Mark, surprised, wonders why she's acting that way again. And then he asks Lena if she's okay and states that she's trembling. And then she replies that it's nothing and tells him not to worry about it. Suddenly, the narrator, excitedly, announces an incoming attack. Everyone is astonished to see that it was competitor Panon. And then the narrator says that through the flames, he is aiming for Agni's blind spot. And then Panon, with his face completely melted, attacks his opponent with a desperate blow and hits him perfectly. Suddenly, the narrator states that this will be a critical hit for competitor Agni. Mark, surprised, grabs his cell phone while Lena watches the scene in shock. Then Mark looks at Lena beside him while the narrator says that he can't get up at all. And then he calls out to Lena, who nervously asks why he keeps calling her and says that she's fine. Mark says that's not it, and that they said there's something wrong with the exhibition, and that he wants her to go check it out immediately. Lena then asks if he's sure he checked the exhibits, and then he wonders why this is happening, since she's sure she checked everything. And then she says that she knew something would go wrong the moment he started talking about vacation and seemed excited. Next, he says it's very strange, as there shouldn't be any problems. But she says she's already seen everything she wanted. And then she asks Mark if he saw that too, and states that she really couldn't believe it. She states that she never thought he would actually beat that monster. She says that as expected, they aren't opponents they can't defeat. But as she says this, Mark is quickly hit by a punch. And then she asks what's happening with the wind. And well, they are on planet GSP Zone 3 Z Street in the planet's promotion center. Lena then closes her eyes, and suddenly when she opens them, the first thing she sees is Mark being carried by one of those idiotic aliens she angered inside the stadium. And then Lena, falling to her knees, sees Mark's bloody face. Lena, desperate, calls out to Mark, and then the aliens wonder if she's still awake. And holding her hair, they tell her not to worry, because they haven't killed him yet. Lena, irritated, calls him a bastard, and then she asks if he's doing this just because she provoked him earlier. Meanwhile, she states that they are on planet GSP, and that the security team will be dispatched soon. The alien asks how an inferior civilization like them dares to do that, and then he says that most of the security devices on that planet are based on his civilization's technology, and that he's already taken care of those devices in that building. And then he asks if she understood while poking her with his finger. The alien then states that the Galactic Federation isn't what it used to be, and that they are accepting even incompetent idiots like them. Lena, irritated, yells at him to shut up, and then she says that they didn't want to join that useless federation either. Then Lena recalls how it all happened. A celestial figure appeared. She states that they simply invaded the place, and they forced them to join. Lena says that because of the infectious disease they brought, billions of Earthlings are dying in pain, and that even so, that damned Federation says that interference between civilizations is not allowed, but they never showed any support. And then the scene returns to Lena, who continues to be held by the hair by the alien. Suddenly, he spits in her face and, laughing, calls her a bitch, and wonders if she isn't confidently saying that her civilization is screwed. The other alien cackles and asks if she thinks the Federation is some kind of charity organization. They wonder if there really is a primitive civilization that is still struggling with this kind of thing. And then the other alien says that he also thought primitive beings like them were only found in museums now. But suddenly the other one hears footsteps and wonders who is there. Suddenly the insane demon appears and wonders which sect dared to bring him there. And then he says that the Shaolin Temple really has some reputation in the martial world. He asks if they don't think their interior has changed drastically, and states that it's so extravagant that he would believe it's a private room in a large inn. And then Lena wonders about that language and if he's really human. The aliens then order him to use the common language while calling him trash. The insane demon in turn says that it's not just the interior decoration that has changed. And then he realizes that that person doesn't speak the common language and states that that's even better. Lena then tells him to go outside and report what happened to the security team right now. She states that they are trying to break the Federation rule. Next, the alien, while pushing her head into the ground, asks what they are planning and if they want to die. And then our demon cackles and says that he understands now, and states that not everyone has changed yet. Suddenly, he moves in the blink of an eye to the front of one of the aliens, who asks what he was doing. And then, the insane demon uses a technique from his martial art, the Vortex Wind Fist. And then, the alien is brutally attacked, causing an immense explosion to occur, concentrated on him. Lena puts her hand to her face to protect herself. Suddenly, the two jerks who were bothering her appear without half of their bodies. The insane demon, with a sadistic smile, tells her to stop being nervous and asks if she understands his words. Lena, frightened, stares at him, and then the insane demon says that he has many questions and that if she tries to run away for no reason, he will kill her right there. Lena then asks if he really has many questions for her. Then he observes her. Lena, astonished, wonders how he did that. And then the insane demon touches her face and says that if she values her life, she should speak clearly. And then she realizes that he doesn't speak the common language. And well, our sadistic demon says that first, she must explain where they are. Lena states that this is the promotional building on Z Street. And then he wonders if this isn't the Shaolin Temple. He states that the energy radiating from there is definitely different from Shaolin's, and that the atmosphere inside is too noisy to be the temple of those bald monks. And then she asks what the hell he is. The insane demon, confused, wonders what she's doing. And then she says that from the language she speaks and her appearance, it's obvious that she's a human from Earth, but it doesn't seem like she has any special devices. And then Lena asks what that explosion was just now. The insane demon, irritated, asks if she's crazy and what she's doing. Next, she slaps his hand away hard and asks for his identity and affiliation. The demon, confused, asks what she means by identity, and then he asks if she doesn't know who he is. Then she replies, saying obviously not, and asks him if he's some kind of celebrity. Suddenly, the alien who was with her tries to attack him from behind. and then he asks how that inferior creature dares to do that. The insane demon, with a sadistic smile, says that he is persistent, and then the alien's punch gets closer and closer. Next, the demon asks, "What the hell is going on?" And then he counterattacks with a punch to the alien's stomach and states that they are just useless brutes, and sinking his hand into the jerk's internal organs. He asks if they don't train their internal energy. Next, he uses his energy to explode the alien. Lena, surprised, wonders if he blocked that giant with a single hand. And then the insane demon asks if she's seriously saying she doesn't know who he is. Lena, confused, wonders what's going on, and if he's famous on Earth. And then she thinks that with that strength, it would be strange if people didn't know about him. Lena apologizes and says that she doesn't know much about Earth, since she spends most of her time on other planets. Surprised, he asks about the other planets and what she's saying. Then she replies that, as she already said, she doesn't have much time to spend on Earth because of work. Suddenly, Mark reappears, coughing up blood. And then he wonders what the hell is going on. And well, she, with total indifference, is surprised that he's awake. The insane demon, irritated, wonders where these weaklings keep coming from. Mark asks who this person is. And well, she says that she doesn't know either. He then asks if he's someone famous. Lena, in turn, says that it seems so, or maybe not. Then she says that she appreciates him saving her, but that it will be difficult to cooperate if he doesn't reveal his identity. Next, he asks how she dares threaten him. And then, while cackling, he says it's okay, because he will introduce himself. And then he introduces himself as the great demon Ma Jinwol, who destroyed the 4 great sects. And laughing, he makes everyone uncomfortable by stating that everyone seems surprised, even though no one recognizes him. Suddenly, Mark asks what that childish setup and name is. He says he doesn't think he's in his right mind. Lena, in turn, says that she doesn't understand what that means, but that the name sounds extraordinary, and that that guy could be an asset to Earth. And then the alien, still alive, punches the ground with all his remaining strength, and with his face completely deformed, wonders if he lost to that trash. Mark, surprised, wonders why the pixies are there and if it was because of what happened earlier. The alien, angrily, says that if it weren't for that suppressor, he would have finished them all off. Mark, desperate, tells Lena not to do anything and asks if she doesn't think he'll explode. But the warnings are useless because Lena calls our hero and asks him if he thinks he can beat that guy in his current state. Mark, desperate, says they should just run, and then the insane demon asks if that alien wasn't going all out until now, and well, Lena eggs him on even more, saying that he wasn't using even half of his power. Then Ma Jinwol, surprised, walks filled with happiness, wondering if he was going easy on him. Lena tells them to wait, and that they need to get information from that guy. Mark wonders what she's doing and says that she should know better than anyone the consequences of letting her guard down. Lena says she knows, but she feels this could be an opportunity. And then Mark asks her to forget about it and that they should just run. But Lena says she'll stay there and watch the fight. Mark then runs off and says that everyone has gone crazy and that he doesn't understand anything anymore. And then Lena thinks that this might be crazy, as Mark said, but that she can't miss this opportunity. Suddenly, the alien thinks to himself that he clearly showed that in the face of an irrational monster like him, the overwhelming appearance and the potential of a level 1 human from Earth, even if largely thanks to the suppressor, with that level of power, there's certainly a chance. The alien, angrily, says screw the rules, and that he will kill him with his own hands. And then Lena, astonished, realizes that that pixie removed the suppressor, and that he is a species from the cosmos that can freely manipulate metals. The insane demon, laughing, tells her to look at that, and then the alien creates a sphere of energy and fires it at the ground, creating a huge explosion. And then he states that he will experience the difference between their civilizations and that he will die. Suddenly, he forms a structure with his power of magnetism, and while the insane demon emerges from the rubble, he smiles and says that's very tempting. Then, the alien throws the structure at the demon with all his might, and suddenly he is surprised and widens his eyes. Next, the insane demon shatters the metal structure with a single blow. Then, he gives a sadistic smile and calls the bald guy, saying that he'll want that ability for himself. The alien, surprised, wonders how he broke his power. And then, he wonders if that trash is stronger than him even without the suppressor. Seeing that there's no way out, he grits his teeth. And then, the alien tries to attack him again, but the insane demon interrupts him, and in the blink of an eye, his head is severed. Next, the alien, with his face between the demon's legs, wonders what he's doing. He asks what he was babbling about from the beginning. Then his body reconnects with his head. And then, the alien screams and attacks again, asking what tricks he's using. Ma Jinwol watches him as rocks float around him. He then asks if that's how it's done. The alien, seeing him replicating his technique, wonders if that's really possible. Then, a large explosion hits the alien. Meanwhile, Lena, frightened, exclaims, "Oh my God!" The alien, furious, calls him trash. Then he asks how he's using the cosmic power of his civilization. And Ma Jinwol, smiling, asks if that's what they call cosmic power. He says he likes it very much and says he will show his gratitude through his technique. The alien then grows even larger and asks if he dares imitate them while forming a vortex of metals in the sky. And then the insane demon replies that he's not imitating and then advances at full speed. Suddenly, he uses his strength to create a strong impact on the alien. The alien screams, saying that he will pay with death. And then Ma Jinwol hits him with his fierce tiger palm technique. Ma Jinwol smiles while saying that he stole his strength. Meanwhile, Lena watches him, perplexed, and wonders if he really won. Next, she observes the fallen alien and states that he fought against a level 3 civilization using cosmic power. Then, Lena, in disbelief, says that that's crazy. Ma Jinwol then stomps on the ground while stating that that martial art is very interesting and even exciting. Suddenly, he calls Lena, asking her to take him to where the bald ones are. Lena, without showing surprise, states that she already expected that, and that's why she came there. Next, Ma Jinwol looks at Lena's hands, as she states that this is the reason she infiltrated that planet. She then asks him if he just wants to prove his strength, and then, with a smile on her face, Lena states that she understands and that she will take Ma Jinwol to a place with many strong guys, and adds that he, the great demon Ma Jinwol, will become Earth's representative in the GSP tournament. Mark, observing the destruction of the place, wonders if all of this is real. He is perplexed, as he can't believe it. Mark says that looking at the situation, he realizes that that crazy person must be behind everything. Meanwhile, one of the tournament leaders arrives and states that the situation seems to have changed a lot from what he had heard. Then, a judge from planet GSP named Virtus asks if a pixie resident went out of control and put his relatives in danger. Mark, frightened, stammers, saying that this is bad, as they shouldn't have brought that guy there. Judge Virtus, in turn, says that from what he sees, it seems that some third party intervened. And then he states that if even a level 3 pixie civilization was defeated, it means that a higher civilization or a combat specialized civilization was involved. Mark then says that logically it's unbelievable to think that this was the work of a human, and he thinks that it's a good thing he'll have time to contact the team leader. Judge Virtus asks Mark what kind of concerns he's having. Mark, stammering, says he doesn't have any. Virtus states that he was clearly worried about something and that he can't hide that from him. Next, Mark, stammering, says that he understands and that he can't fool Judge Virtus after all. Then, he states that he is worried about the safety of his companions. Judge Virtus states that they will not be safe and that from the scene, the suspect is definitely a heinous criminal. Mark then replies that he is right. Virtus says not to worry because the best investigators on planet GSP are reconstructing the scene and they will soon find out who did it. Next, he observes the robots doing a scan and wonders if that's the machine memory specter that materializes the past that he's only heard of. Suddenly, a giant rock starts to fall on top of him. Judge Virtus then says that the Earthling shouldn't be so discouraged, and then he uses his strength to generate an explosion above Mark, but well, I think he overdid it a little. Then, he declares that he, the Judge of Justice, Virtus, will surely avenge his relatives. Next, a large hole appears in the ceiling. Mark, still scared, gasps and says that this is really bad and asks if it isn't leader Lena who should be handling this. 30 minutes pass, and Ma Jinwoo says that after that, he came to his senses and found himself in that place. Lena then wonders what that story is, similar to a sealing romance in the martial world. Next, she says that explains how he was able to fluently speak a language he couldn't before, and wonders if it was the influence of absorbing the pixie's power. She states that she's never heard of a cosmic power that absorbs the power of others. However, if that's not the case, nothing is explained. Then, she wonders how humanity lost those abilities, and says that it's like a lost technology. Then, the insane demon starts to walk away. Lena then asks him to wait and asks what he's doing leaving alone. Ma Jinwoo states that he thought about it, and that he doesn't need her help anyway. Then, Lena stops him and says that she already said she would take him there. Ma Jinwoo, ignoring her, replies that he can go find it himself. Then Lena asks him to wait a minute and says that this isn't the world he knows. Ma Jinwoo replies that he realized this isn't the world he knew, but that door was interesting. Next, with his reddened eyes, he asks Lena why she's following him. Then Ma Jinwoo arrives at a place full of different beings. He wonders what those things are. Lena then grabs his shoulder, stating that she already told him, and welcomes Ma Jinwoo, the human from the past, to the 26th century. Looking up at the sky, ultra-fast ships and super-advanced technologies pass before his eyes. Lena explains that this era is called the era of Earth's space exploration in the year 2600. Ma Jinwoo wonders what the hell this is, and then Lena explains that as he can see, this means that they have started interacting with civilizations beyond Earth. Ma Jinwoo then wonders what's so special about interacting with those bizarre creatures that they made a distinction. Then, Lena asks him where humans would be if they were to rank them, and those creatures based on their civilization. Ma Jinwoo, now dressed in modern clothing, replies that he has no idea how many of those creatures exist, so how would he know something like that? Next, Lena states that there are a total of about 20,000 civilizations in this universe, and that their dear humanity is at the bottom of the food chain. Ma Jinwoo then asks if she's saying that the stupid Baldy he defeated is also included in that. Lena then states that he is correct and says that although she doesn't like to say it, she asks him to be more careful with his words. Lena then explains that in the universe, there is a 5-level scale that categorizes the hierarchical relations of civilizations. She states that, as she already said, humans are at the lowest level, classified as a level 1 civilization. And of course, even among level 1 civilizations, they are at the very bottom. Ma Jinwoo then asks if she really cares about that useless ranking. Lena stares at him, asking what he meant by that. Then, Ma Jinwoo states that if it were him, he would have focused on gaining strength instead of worrying about that. Then, Lena calls him, and formally proposes it once more. A proposal? He asks. Lena then states that what he really wants is to find and fight strong beings. The demon then replies that that could be true. Next, she explains that on planet GSP, a universal combat tournament is held once every 100 years. Next, he states that in this tournament, beings stronger than anything she can imagine participate. Then she states that he will be representing Earth in that tournament, and continues saying that this way he will be able to find the strong beings he so desires, but suddenly she gets slapped on the hand. Ma Jinwoo questions her, asking if she is asking him to fight for her. Then, Lena replies that yes, but it was so he could find strong beings. Ma Jinwoo, irritated, tells her to shut up and asks if she thinks she can use him just because they exchanged a few words. The demon questions her if after just a few conversations, she thinks he is as foolish as she is. Lena then says that if it sounded that way, she apologizes and will change that to a request. Next, she explains that if they do well in that tournament, their humanity will be able to advance to the next level of civilization. Ma Jinwoo, with a look of disdain, asks what the importance of that empty ranking is. Lena, furious, states that it's not just empty. Next, Ma Jinwoo asks what it is then, since it's just a matter of going up a few levels. He questions her if his useless core will change in any way. Next, she asks what would happen if it did change. Lena explains that to advance to the next stage, all they have to to do is get good results in that tournament. Then, she says that civilization levels are categorized based on cosmo power, which is a vital energy that quantifies existence. All powers that exceed common sense in that universe only manifest when someone can freely manipulate this evasive energy. Ma Jinwoo says that he understands now. He states that he wants to use that mysterious power, but it seems that he can only use it after advancing to the next level. He continues by saying that, however, they have no hope of winning the tournament. Then, he asks if she wants to make him fight against those monsters to win. Lena then states that this is the conclusion, but when a civilization advances, what it gains is not some way to use those superpowers, but rather enlightenment, knowledge that cannot be obtained even after a lifetime of effort. Ma Jinwoo stares at her and asks what that means. Then, she explains that this is the knowledge that humanity has accumulated so far and is believed to be the result of centuries of human effort. She states that after reaching the space exploration era, they revealed the truth to them. What they thought they had achieved through their experiments and efforts was a mere fraction of the information that was continuously transmitted by the enormous brain of a giant at the end of the universe. She continues explaining that then there are those who control the knowledge of that giant, those who are called the final sapiens, the only level 5 civilization in the current universe. She states that they are the hosts of that damn tournament, and adds that knowledge is distributed to each civilization unequally due to their restrictions. Ma Jinwoo, bored, says that's boring, and then he says that as he already said, she wants to get what she wants by asking him to fight. Lena says that's true, but that he should listen to her because what he will do is for all of humanity. Ma Jinwoo then replies that instead of explaining, he recommends that she find someone with the same beliefs and starts to walk away. He says that he doesn't think there's a fool who would risk his life for others, but suddenly Ma Jinwoo looks to the side and he is hit by a strong light from Judge Virtus, who says he has completed the execution of judgment. Judge Virtus then says that he never imagined that this was the work of a low-level civilization like theirs. He steps towards Lena, who soon starts to sound cold, and says that for her involvement in the Pixie resident's murder case, he will judge her. Then he points a light in her direction, and suddenly, in the background, our incredible demon could be heard getting up again and stating that it really hurts. He then begins to regenerate from absolutely nothing and catches the judge's attention. Lena, in shock, observes Ma Jinwoo covered in a black aura and wonders if he's alive. Ma Jinwoo, still extremely injured, calls him damned and asks what he's doing, leaving him in that state. Judge Virtus watches as the demon tells him not to dare move from there, or he'll make him look just like him. And well, now we change locations to planet GSP, Sector 3, on C Street. A small group of Piglos walks down the street. The little Piglo girl named Mala states that a Terran sister beside her helped them. The Piglo named Grog says that in the fight against the Pixie resident, he ended up discovering that Terrans are more courageous than the rumors say. The little girl agrees. Then another Piglo named Kulak says that he owes her a debt of gratitude. Suddenly, another Piglo appears and asks what they are talking about so happily without him. Grog says that the youngest of them almost got into big trouble after going to cheer for everyone. Then, the little girl notices Panon's presence and runs towards him. Panon picks her up and Grog asks if he's okay, as he went through a lot. Panon then replies that they shouldn't worry, because he, who is the representative of the Piglo civilization with a rank of 4,800, says that he is ready for any fight. But he asks what she meant by big trouble. Suddenly, one of the local aliens alerts everyone to evacuate, stating that Judge Virtus has appeared on the streets. Everyone wonders what's going on. Next, it is revealed that he is chasing a Terran who killed a Pixie resident and fled afterward. The Piglos look at each other, as that combination seemed familiar to them. Mala holds Panon's hand, who asks what's wrong with her. She then says it's nothing, but at the same time, he suspects something. Suddenly, someone starts yelling for everyone to get out of the building because it's collapsing. Then, Lena is seen lying in the rubble, taking deep breaths. She observes the building in ruins, while Ma Jinwoo approaches the judge and says that this is what happens when you carelessly explode someone's body. He focuses his strength and stomps on the ground, while saying that it seems he managed to get out of his new magnetism move. Then, Judge Virtus starts exploding all that mass of metal with his light powers, while saying that he couldn't believe it when he saw that. Our demon then becomes serious, and Judge Virtus then asks if he really absorbed the cosmo power of the pixie resident. Then he says that Ma Jinwoo seems more dangerous than he thought. The demon, smiling, asks him if he is starting to regret having touched him. Then Ma Jinwoo uses a technique and says that this is his earth-splitting explosion. Next, with a stomp on the ground, our demon creates an explosion that reaches the sky and makes everyone tremble, and continues saying that now it's too late. Suddenly, everyone starts screaming and running from the explosion. Lena, confused, tries to understand what is happening. Amidst the explosion, Judge Virtus wonders what the hell Ma Jinwoo is doing. Suddenly, someone covers Lena's mouth, but it's just the warrior Panon, who says he's there to protect her, while his brothers call him. Panon then asks why they followed him and states that he told them to take Mila away from there. Lena, looking at him, wonders what that thing is. Then she remembers the little Piglo girl, the alien who was cheering earlier. Panon, irritated, states that no one listens to him, neither that girl nor his Piglo partners. Grog says that Mala is with Kulak, and that he doesn't need to worry and should hurry. Lena, confused, asks what he wants with her. Panon says that he came to return the favor she did for him last time, and that the Piglo civilization always repays kindness when received. Grog then asks him to hurry. Lena wonders what they mean and tells them to wait a minute. And then he says that saving Lena's race is impossible, and says that all the judges are monsters who reached the GSP tournament finals. Meanwhile, our demon from Earth makes some kind of multi-shadow clones and charges at the judge. The judge wonders if the pixie civilization's strength wasn't all they had, while creating a sphere of luminous energy. Next, he directs it towards Ma Jinwoo. Virtus then explodes everything around him and states that everything he does is just a trick. Ma Jinwoo, in turn, says that he knew Virtus would say that, as he focuses his strength. In the blink of an eye, Judge Virtus raises his finger towards our protagonist's forehead, concentrating all his energy on him. Then they clash, and Virtus explodes him again, saying that it seems the demon is really insignificant after all. While Panon carries her, Lena asks him to let her go and curses him. She says that if he's going to save someone, he should save that guy, not her. Panon asks if she didn't hear what he said before, and asks what they can do against a monster like that. And Grog tells them to stop that and run, and asks how long they are going to cling to that outdated belief, but Panon states that this is the ideal of his civilization that has been protected for a lifetime. Suddenly, something falls from the sky on fire. Then he wonders what that is. He wonders why a dry piece of wood is falling from the sky. Lena, in turn, states that that was the earthling she had asked for help. And then, Panon concludes that Ma Jinwoo was fighting Virtus, while he begins to materialize near them. Then, he says that if that's the case, Virtus must also be arriving at that location. Grog asks them not to stay there and escape quickly, even if they have to leave everyone behind, and that at that pace, they will end up like Ma Jinwoo. Lena then looks at our regenerating demon and gives a sadistic smile while saying that she expected that. Then, she tells them to wait and watch Ma Jinwoo carefully. Next, the demon screams and shows all his regeneration while still engulfed in Virtus's flames. The Piglos wonder what that is and if it's alive, and they say they can't believe how he keeps regenerating even after being swallowed by Virtus's flames. They then question whether the Terran's cosmic power could be regeneration, stating that it seems too precious a power for such a humble creature to possess. Suddenly, Judge Virtus appears and tells them to let the criminals go. Grog and Kulak are shocked and say that this is their chance. Panon asks if Lena thinks Ma Jinwoo will survive, and she states that she's seen him recover from worse injuries. Panon says that then they must take Ma Jinwoo immediately to the GSP registration office, because if he becomes a GSP fighter, not even Virtus will be able to touch him carelessly. And right after, he calls for Grog. She asks him not to go, but Panon says that while he's holding Virtus, they should take Ma Jinwoo to the registration office. Grog states that he is a stubborn fool and asks what's wrong with him. Then Grog, desperate, grabs everyone and sets off to register our demon, stating that she no longer knows what's happening and tells him not to die there. Then, the Piglo warrior tells them not to worry, because with that victory, they will get a weapon to surprise him. Judge Virtus states that they are fools if they think they can escape him. Next, he concentrates a blast of energy towards them. Suddenly, Panon states that he's heard that phrase before and that Virtus was definitely a Helicionian before becoming a judge. He explains that the weakness of Helicionians, those who wield the power of light, is darkness, and that by chance on that day, his civilization's cosmic power seems to wield the power of darkness. Then, the Piglo, enveloped in a shadowy energy, says that this must be an order from his ancestors to help Mila's benefactor. Now, at the GSP Tournament player registration office, a woman, an office worker named Kyranos, apologizes, but says that no matter how much they say that, she won't be able to do the registration any faster. Then, Grog yells at her to stop apologizing and speed up the registration. Lena, nervous, says that she is the representative of Earth, but Kyranos says that even so, the condition of that individual is deplorable. Suddenly, Ma Jinwoo shouts that he's fine and asks her to hurry up with the process because his regeneration is ultra-fast. The local staff, observing the situation, say that it looks like the Earthlings are trying to register for the GSP tournament, but they are not being accepted. One of the aliens at the location says, while smiling sinisterly, that the Earthlings are participating, and if he faces them, it will be an easy victory. Then everyone starts laughing. Meanwhile, Grog asks what the problem is and states that they don't have time to waste. Next, someone arrives and tells Kyranos to register them quickly, and states that all civilizations have the freedom to participate in the GSP. Then some other aliens ask if they are discriminating against an inferior civilization. Grog asks why those guys are acting that way. Then Kyranos, desperate, states that she will process the registration. Lena, satisfied, says that she should have done that from the beginning, but she says she needs to confirm something first. She asks where the player who needs to register is, but they realize that Ma Jinwoo has disappeared. Now in District 3, on G Street, Judge Virtus says that he doesn't understand, and while holding Panon's head, asks what he gains by saving those guys and putting his life on the line. He states that he can't understand the thoughts of lower-level civilizations. Suddenly, our hero appears, calling him clumsy. Ma Jinwoo prepares himself, while Judge Virtus questions him about his regenerative power and says that he will be killed for good now. Then Virtus says that now he understands, and that it's no wonder lower-level civilizations make such foolish decisions from the start. And then Virtus tries to attack him, but Panon stops him, enveloping him with his darkness. And then he shouts that he has temporarily sealed his abilities and asks him to attack him with force. Virtus is shocked as Ma Jinwoo advances towards him. Then our demon says that it doesn't matter if his martial arts are insignificant or not. Next, he hits him squarely, sending Judge Virtus flying away, while saying that he can judge him after taking his blow. That's right, Demon King. Humanity. 1. Jerk gods. 0.